Hola, hola, buenas noches, buenos días, buenos tardes, GnGs. My name is Trekkw2ks, and technology is not working with me today. This is my third attempt at this recording right now. So, if you don't know, this is Weekend Crypto, and yeah, I'm Trekkw2ks, and the basic idea is I cover crypto news that happens between Friday and Sunday, pop it out 08 Monday morning. I do it with the filter of, is this a trend indicator or pattern? And it is not about price talk. So for the new folks, I don't do none of the price talk chart stuff. King's really good at that at the 10 o'clock hour or 10-ish hour. Sometimes he might be on a little bit earlier. Black Rule is good with that. I'm just not that guy. Sorry. Not sorry. For the folks who've been doing this with me for a minute, I appreciate y'all for coming back, and thank you. For the lurkers, I appreciate y'all too, because y'all still help the numbers do what they do. And then for the scammers, y'all have some positive attributes to y'all too, as far as it shows some level of I must be doing something right for y'all to think it's worth scamming on my segment too. I'm just saying, I appreciate everybody, right? I got a couple of stories. I guess it's just a matter of like, let's get into it, because I mean, it's not all they're not really positive stories, y'all, because my outlook is kind of negative on each one of them, one way or the other. But yeah, let's just jump into these stories and we go from there. All right, here we go. First story: Bitcoin core developer ditches Lightning. What's the drama? This is Anton Reard. I don't remember his face. I've met a couple of the Bitcoin core folks over the years, and not like we're chummy and none of that, but just like I've at least been to events and like had a hello and stuff like that with them. So we jump into this TLDR part of it, which is prominent Bitcoin figure Anton Reard leaves Lightning Network development due to security concerns. The Lightning Network, introduced to enhance Bitcoin scalability, is threatened by replacement cycling attacks. These attacks exploit payment channel inconsistencies, hinting at deeper vulnerabilities within Bitcoin's architecture. All right, so let's jump into this stuff. I'm not even going to go to the first paragraph. I'm actually going to jump down here. So the Lightning Network, an innovation introduced to boost Bitcoin scalability, essentially acts as a bypass. By allowing off-chain peer-to-peer transaction, it aims to alleviate the congestion on the primary Bitcoin blockchain. The fundamental concept is simple: open payment channels, process multiple transactions off-chain, and then finalize the results on the primary blockchain. However, there's a wrench in the machinery. A new sinister threat known as replacement cycling attack is rearing its head. This technique allows malicious entities to pilfer funds from channel participants. How? By exploiting the inconsistencies between individual mempools. To visualize this, imagine a backdoor in a seemingly secure system, allowing sneaky intruders to snatch away valuable assets unchecked and unnoticed. Damn, I'm messing up on his name. I'll read his observation part. So Reard warns that addressing this rising challenge might need tweaks to Bitcoin's foundational network, indicating a deep-seated flaw. Okay, so I'm gonna stop there, leave it at that. Here's the thing. This article on why I bring it up now. I'm not telling you got to be a Bitcoin person. I'm not telling you to be a Lightning person. I'm not a CPA. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a financial advisor, right? I am someone who is not a coder either, but I understand enough of the techie stuff, right? I've been doing the article stuff with y'all for a good minute now. And so there are certain things, as I've been saying over the last couple of episodes in particular, is you really got to start taking these stories with a grain of salt and understand that this is about marketing. And marketing as far as how do we present X amount of information in a certain frame of understanding that either moves your opinion or position on a topic left or right. And within that, we have this here where the idea of, is something wrong with Lightning or is something wrong with Bitcoin is what is being presented here, right? But at the same time, the author of this article is not actually explaining to you what the issue is. They threw out a couple of technical terms that if you don't understand how the back end side of the Bitcoin protocol works, aka Bitcoin blockchain, you go, well, what's a mempool? What does that even mean? So to then surmise it and say, well, think of it as a back door into a secure space. Okay, but what do you actually do when you get in? Like, where does the mempool or mempools actually sit in this scenario that you're describing to me as just using a back door to walk in? The other thing to note, This reminds me of an article, or sorry, a video that Andreas Antonopoulos just did, where he's basically breaking down like, hey, there's this protocol there's this function in the Bitcoin protocol that is what gives it its robustness of being censorship resistant. Meaning, because this particular function is like the RBN or the RBP, I can't remember what the exact thing is called, but I know what it allows to happen. The basic idea is, if they changed it at the core of the Bitcoin protocol, it would allow it that ordinals could be stopped on the Bitcoin blockchain. It would allow it that you could stop the spam that happens in the Bitcoin blockchain. There's another thing that you could do with it too. Now, arguably, those are good things depending on who you ask in the space. But the other part of it is, it could also then be used to make the Bitcoin protocol like a Solana, like a Terra Luna, like a Ethereum, and I'm talking about Vitalik's version of Ethereum. It could be like a Polygon, like in that now you can do things that would censor the operations or the transactions at a very, very key, like base level thing of how the blockchain works. So where anyone can transmit and receive on the Bitcoin protocol. If you change this one thing, and you could argue that you're, quote, doing it for good to stop the spam, to stop ordinals, but then someone could take that function and use it for other things. And we understand how law enforcement is looking at this stuff, the government is looking at this stuff, the traditional TradeFi, financial institutions are looking at this, and how they want to control it, throttle it, and deter people from having a censorship-resistant economic or, quote, financial tool. So imagine, and I'm myself, I am not 100% understanding what this particular flaw is, and I got to do my own digging on it. But based on how they explain it in this article, it's not telling me what it actually is, like what the actual issue is, and how do I protect myself from it? How do I, like, aside from just not using the Lightning Network, but if it's not on the Lightning Network side and it's actually at the core of the Bitcoin protocol, is this actually one of the core functions that if you mess with it, it messes with a bunch of other things that are dependent on it? They don't explain that in this article. That's my point to this, right? Are you actually being informed in a way that helps you properly understand how to move forward in this space? In my mind, the author who wrote this is not doing that, because they're not properly informing you on what this actual vulnerability or the interpretation of this vulnerability is. Just my thought on it. Link for this will be in the description. If somebody knows something better on it, because they're, able to do stuff on the Bitcoin protocol, because y'all are like y'all actually are a dev or something like that, yo, let me know what's up. Or if you heard of another story related to this, let me know what's up. Comments is open. Y'all see me in the live, right? I'm over here in the chat side of it. But do remember, we keep receipts on stuff. So like, you can say what you say, disagree with me, it's cool. You might think this is a good thing as far as like it should be fixed. The Bitcoin protocol should be changed. I'm not telling you no. I'm just saying, remember that if you say this, we keep receipts. We don't delete comments. We do keep receipts. So yeah, I'm gonna jump into this next thing, because it wasn't really much more to say about it other than like, you got to watch how these stories are being framed and projected / marketed to you. And I'm not even saying that Antone is a bad dude or anything. I don't know the name or the face like that, and it doesn't mean I haven't met him at some point, but yeah. All right, so this next joint here, I need to put this joint in context. I said this the other day about how I'm trying to do my part to make sure that the channel don't get dinged, okay? And so I've been saying to y'all, like, the YouTube algos have been changing the last couple of months. And another thing that's going on is that they're using the AI side of it to cache and index what you're saying, in addition to what you're visually showing. When they start messing with you, and I really, really do believe this, because if y'all remember how it was going back, like when Zay was on the lives, and like when he started saying certain things, all of a sudden the audio started messing up. And there's some other things that have recently happened in some of the other channels that I follow, where those folks are talking about situations that they're having with their content being pushed out and how the discoverability is working for them. So I'm trying to do my part where I'm not trying to do anything that will get the channel dinged. So when I say certain names of things, I might change the name of it, but you see who's on the screen. So I'm gonna say this, right? Habibi, and I'm not being disrespectful. I'm not intending to be disrespectful to the folks of that side. I'm not intending to be disrespectful, but I'm gonna call it Habibi in this situation. And I'm gonna say the other side, Ra'el, If you put IS in front of it, it should make sense to you. If you need to write it down, you could do that too. So let's get into this little story. Again, this is also following the pattern of like, you got to watch how these stories are being portrayed and framed to you and the wordage that's being used. So WSJ is the Wall Street Journal urged to retract inflated Habibi crypto report, right? You see who that is. So we jump into this first part here. Swan's lead market analysis, Sam Callahan, recently spotlighted a critical error in a Wall Street Journal article. The publication erroneously reported that Hamas had, The publication erroneously reported that Habibi had garnered 90 million in cryptocurrency. The false claim, Collin urges, necessitates an immediate retraction by the Wall Street Journal to prevent misuse of the information in political warfare against the cryptocurrency realm. The contentious article appeared last week, drawing extensive attention and serious implication. Politicians opposing Bitcoin, where are we at? Politicians opposing Bitcoin capitalized on the misinformation, forwarding a letter to national authorities. They pressed for action against cryptocurrencies' perceived national security risk in the Terror Dome financing. I'm saying Terror Dome for a reason. So, however, the blockchain analytics authority Chainalysis debunked the Wall Street Journal's claims. No one cares about Wall Street Journals. How about, I'm going to stop reading. Let me finish this and then I'm going to tell you my thought on something. Intensive scrutiny revealed that Wall Street Journal had incorrectly attributed an entire exchange's trading volume to a single Terra-linked wallet. That don't even make sense. The actual figure, Chainalysis confirmed, stands starkly lower at approximately 450,000. So we're not even talking 500,000, right? We're not even talking 500,000. And the idea that the person who wrote the original article is like, yeah, so 90 million. Well, where'd you get that from? Oh, well, we thought that the exchange value and the wallet was the same thing. What? How does that even make sense, sir? And then here comes Chainalysis. Hey, you guys got that wrong. This is what the actual number is. No one cares. Listen, we're going into a presidential election season. We have multiple things going on a global scale where there is external posturing and there is internal posturing. The internal posturing is people in political or large size, high visibility positions, because it doesn't mean you're necessarily a political person. You could be the head of a company. High visibility positions are going to say things that are for either internal or external posturing. And as I've said a number of times, anytime somebody conducts a press conference, a press release, some open speech thing, some blog thing, some 1,200 word article, nothing holds that person accountable to actually follow through on what they said in it. If they're on a campaign speech, if they're at a conference or a summit, nothing holds them accountable to be like, oh, well, you said blah, blah, blah at this event, or you posted blah, 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 and you made this statement. Nothing holds these people accountable. There's no legal connection to be like, oh, well, you said this, so this has to be this. No. And then on top of it, they all can walk back any of the stuff they say where they're just, oh, well, I was misinformed myself. And that's it. Wall Street Journal, oh, well, we're not going to hold the editor accountable because they greenlit the article. We're not going to hold the writer accountable. We're just going to go tell them to write more stuff. That's it. No one cares about the actual truth of the statements, because that's not the point of these kind of articles. That's not the point of these stories. The point is to be able to take the quotable, the clickbait title or the soundbite, and then use it to move people's position on a topic/subject. Do you like it? Do you not like it? Do you favor it? Do you favor it a little bit, or do you favor it a lot? Do you disdain it, or are you horribly terrified by it? Right? That's the end goal of marketing. And everything is about marketing at this stage. Like, it's crazy to me. I was talking to Sergeant Crypto the other day about something, and we were sharing some video thing, and I was like, yeah, man, it's crazy to me. Like, folks really don't understand. Like, Americans in particular are very, very, very ignorant to American history, let alone world history. And there's some things that, like, I had said to him, like, yo, like, there's an example of the U.S. Liberty If you ever look up the actual history behind U.S. Liberty, it's an American ship from back in the day under L.B. Johnson, and the situation that boat was in. And then to think like, wow, but yet that's not how it's told later on in history. Folks don't care about the truth. Folks don't care about real, I don't want to say real understanding, but folks don't care to actually understand. There's another intel guy I listen to, and for as smart as he is, and for the number of places that he's been in, what always gets me about one of the things that he's arguing of late is, these Western powers went into these areas and they didn't understand the local cultural nuances. They didn't understand the cultural history that these regions and the local people developed over the decades, centuries, and just over time. And I'm just like, either I'm just really stupid or I don't understand history. There's a book called oh man, what is the name of this book? I cannot remember the book right now. The point being is that we have a lot of documented history of how things actually played out versus the popular narrative of how things are retold after the fact. Most folks don't care about the actuality. And most folks are okay with hearing the grander and more positive narrative spins of historical events. That's just where we are. I'm not saying I'm the most smartest person or I'm out here doing the most like courageous or noteworthy things, right? I do this stuff because it's like, yo, like I've been in this space for a minute. I see the trends. I've seen the patterns. I've seen X number of players come. I've seen X number of players go. I've seen folks repeat the same bullshit. And hopefully some of the stuff that I say is relevant to be added in to how you guys are doing your due diligence and how you're going to move forward in this space. I'm not telling you to follow my lead on stuff. I'm not telling you everything I say is right. And I say, like, take this shit with a grain of salt. Because I know I don't know everything. I know I don't know a number of behind the scenes situations and details. But it's just on the front end. And there might be here and there stories that I know some things on the back end too, or I have some insight to. Case in point, the situation with Binance US. I had a conversation with somebody else that I know who is in an exchange. I'm gonna say two things I'm gonna say, and I'm gonna move off of this. One, the whole proof of reserves, throw that shit out the window. We called it back then when they first started popping up about this exchange has proof of reserve, this exchange has proof of reserve, that exchange has it. Smoke and mirrors, it was for market sentiment as far as quelling the market sentiment because of the Terra Luna FTX Celsius situation. Other thing to note is there's definitely going to be more exchanges to stop using USD, and there's going to be more exchanges having issues with operating in the American market, especially if they are a foreign exchange. Some of them are going to be better than others. Some of them is just going to have to drop out the race altogether. And there's certain reasons for it, but that's as far as I'm going to go on that one. Nonetheless, as I'm saying, in this situation right here, again, this is the stuff that they're going to use to argue why we need more capital flight controls, but we're not going to call it capital flight controls. We're going to call it regulations to deal with anti-money laundering, better regulation and enforcement to deal with the Terror Dome activities, right? But at the end of the day, just because you're, quote, going after the bad actor, you're not going to solely focus on the bad actor. That's never how it works when you give people an authority the ability to do other things, quote, legally, or because they, quote, have a title or authority. That's just what human history shows us. Sorry, y'all. All right, moving over to this next joint. Roblox. I really should have retitled this joint to say Roblox is about to pimp out devs like YouTube content creators. I would include myself, but we're not on the monetized side of YouTube. But I'm going to make the connection to this whole thing. I'll also caveat to say King is better at definitely doing the business breakdowns on stuff. So I'm not, and he's good at the number evaluation stuff. I'm not the best at that, but I'm going to try to explain the thought process that I had when I was reading this article and see if y'all can get where I'm going with this. Again, remember, not the CPA, not the lawyer, not the, financial advisor. And I could be way, way, way off, way wrong on this, or I might be the nail on the head. I might hit the nail on the head. Sorry, I mean to say it that way. So first thing to know, in my mind, I think Roblox is positioning for the halvening. As we get into this, you'll see why I'm saying what I'm saying. So, all right, of the TLDR, this third one is the one that matters the most. The new subscription service goes fully live in November with payments simplified as users pay in local currency, but developers earn in Roblox in-game currency, Robux. Yay! All right, so let's jump to where we at. I'm gonna read through these and I'll run that way with it. So, in a strategic move, Roblox Corporation has announced a significant reduction in platform fees for game developers. This decision, effective immediately and valid until December 15th of 2023, is set to revolutionize the economic landscape of the gaming platform. Developers who integrate new subscriptions into their games will incur a mere 15% fee, a sharp drop from the customary 30%. The initiative emerges as part of Roblox's broader strategy to strengthen its community ties and bolster the economic viability of its platform. The reduced fees apply until March 2015 of 2024, marking a critical period for developers to capitalize on this financial respite, which I'm not 100% certain on how that's being used, honestly. Yeah, so this is the other part that I have to read to y'all. How's it doing that? Okay. So, simplified revenue streams. The payment structure under the new model also warrants attention. While the transactions on the user's end occur in local currencies, developers will receive their dues in Robux, in-game currency. This method eliminates the need for currency conversions, offering developers a streamlined revenue system and a consistent approach to various monetization avenues. All right, here's why that shit is stupid. Damn, that's the first curse I had this whole damn thing. So you're telling me that the people playing my game is giving regular fiat, but I can't get the fiat. I have to get it in an alternative monetary system, aka financial instrument, Robux. And on top of it, you're telling me that the fees that you as the platform charge me for having my game here, you're only going to reduce for about 6 months. And then it goes back to 30? Or is it going to go beyond 30? I don't know, because you're not telling me. Or you know what? They might have sent stuff out to the actual developers that just isn't included in this article. I don't know. I haven't played Roblox. I've seen the platform and stuff. Here's why I made that YouTube statement before. Because if you know about the content side of YouTube and how the monetization thing came into play and how it transitioned from what it was like back in 2013 into 2015 into 2017 into 2020 and to where we are now, incrementally they changed the terms of service. They were making the requirements different for how much view time you had to get and then what the number had to equal to. Like there was a point where it was like, well, you only need this many views to be able to get paid on stuff. Then it turned into, well, you need this many minutes for a video to count for the views, right? My point being is that what Roblox is talking about here is they're doing a couple of things. One is they are stabilizing their revenue model by making it that instead of us charging you, I don't know what the actual price is, let's say $50 for the year, because the system currently is where the devs are charging a pass, a one-time or maybe an annual pass that's, let's say, $50 for the year, $50 for 12 months, or $50 for a one-time thing. So now you go from where it's only $50, and let's say we got 100, players, to where now let's just go, well, let's charge $10 a month, and now we got $120, and it's 100 players. You see how they just increased what the revenue was, right? And now the player, that's not the player, the player is doing all the things they're doing as far as like doing their upgrades and everything in fiat, but the devs are getting the quote equivalent of that in Robux. And on top of it, they're still taking a fee for you using their platform to host your game. And now, yes, you have 15% more, but you still got a team to deal with. You still got real life bills to deal with. You still have to do things to maintain the game, right? And that stuff ain't cheap, right? Like, so now you have it that you're getting a form of payment, a financial instrument that has no relevance, quote, outside of the Roblox ecosystem, unless you can extract your Robux, take it to an exchange, find an exchange that has the pairing of Robux with some other equivalent or doable crypto that you're like, okay, I can deal with the transaction fee on that. Does that exchange have a minimum transaction amount? Like, well, what's your minimum? And then how much do they take when you extract? So, yo, listen to this, y'all. You're not getting the full value. Like, and then if you look at what the Robux value is, it's like more than 5 zeros after the decimal on the on where did I look? I think I looked on like CoinGecko or something. It's crazy. And they're telling the developers, we're going to pay you in this thing, and we value it so much, we're going to give it to you. If you value it so much, pay your in-house developers in that. If you value it so much, pay your CTO and your CEO Robux. My thought process is they are gearing up for either an exit from like selling off the platform as IP, and or because like, yo, y'all remember when Zay and them had talked about how Coinbase was making a move to go public because they started doing certain moves, they started hiring certain people, they started changing the terms of service, they started changing how you can move things around on the platform, they started pushing really hard on the KYC. It's the same situation here. They're going to start doing stuff. So are they going to, like, who they hire over the next 18 months? That's going to be an indicator. But the pattern is definitely there. They are bolstering the user base numbers, but what they're doing is they're doing it by dangling the carrot in front of the developers who attract the users to the platform because of the games that they make. And at the end of the day, the registered number of users will increase, which will then increase the revenue model, right? Will increase the revenue. I can't even call it profit because I have no idea what the operational cost is or what the stuff looks like. But I imagine that they might be running similar to what the YouTube numbers are, where they took in like some stupid ass number of like 200 or something million, I think it was last year. And then they only paid out like 14 million to all of the monetizable channels. So like, think about that. You know what I'm saying? We're not even talking like a quarter of what you took in revenue. I imagine the numbers are probably going to work out the same way over here on Roblox, where they're going to pull in a sizable number, but then when you look at what the actual payout is for the developers of the games, it probably won't even be 1/3 of what they pull in. Now, we could argue about, well, you know, what about the operational cost, and, you know, what about the way that they have to dealing with the VCs and the investors on the back end? Well, that's the whole point of them using the developers, aka the content creators, to make a better product content that draws in the users, aka the eyeballs. And that's the part of what, so it's going to be interesting to see how, or at least from afar, because I'm not going to go play Roblox. I know I'm not going to do that. How this new revenue model that is being pushed on the developers from going from the pass to the subscription model and getting the financial instrument of Robux versus actual cash, actual fiat, how it's going to change the gaming development ecosystem on Roblox, and then to see, are any of the other gaming platforms that are crypto related, are they going to try to do the same thing? I don't know. But what I'll say is this definitely looks like they're setting up for either an exit as far as selling off the whole metaverse thing as IP, or they might do a merge with somebody or expand some way. I'm not 100% certain, but it definitely, there's a pattern here, and it is definitely them going through a period of, we need to get more users in registered, and then we need to extract as much capital out of the ecosystem as possible because this model has a shelf life. They're positioning it now pre the halvening, and arguably what I think should work as a byproduct of them pushing this financial instrument on the developers is it will have a ripple effect into the crypto market exchanges in relation to the Robux pairing. So they're trying to make their market, and then they're going to extract the value on both ends. This shit is crazy to watch, y'all. Like, I'm not even gonna lie. I feel like this is gonna be painful because I know there's a shelf life on it. And it's not about them being gamers, and it's not about them being altruistic to developers in the community. Like, here's the other thing to understand, right? Here's the other thing to understand. And I feel like OpenSea, Blur, and a couple of other ones showed and validated this point of the idea of content creators, aka the developers, and that whole thing of like, own your data, own your content, be able to get paid off of your stuff. It's an ideal. It's not a hard-coded thing in the tech stack. It's a function that you turn off and on and mess with the numbers of the payout when it suits the owner or the controller of the platform. If you don't understand what I'm saying, go back and look at the videos where I talk about what was going on with OpenSea and Blur and the other NFT marketplaces, and how when the content creator folks found out that the secondary revenue model that they thought they would get on the secondary and third and all that sales was actually a feature or a function that could be turned off. It wasn't hard-coded in smart contracts. That's it. And I would argue it's going to be a similar situation here in the game development space for what's going to play out over the next 3-5 years. In my mind, I just don't see Roblox as being something that's like 2030, 2031. They might even do a rebrand after like 2027. Maybe. Because at that point, they'll probably have more games under the thing, or they'll acquire other stuff, or they'll get bought out by somebody else and then get rebranded. Like, I don't know which way it could go. I just know that this, to me, looks like the setup for potential exit. That's what it looked like to me. But that's just me, y'all. That's just me. Anywho, I'm gonna jump into this last story. This last story here. Sorry for the rambles. These are my thoughts. This is how they come, right? So this joint right here, FBI takes down $15 million unsolicited crypto to fiat transmitting operation in New York State. I don't even know why they really said New York State, because this is really downstate. So this is like more of like the 5 boroughs, really. There was some activity was happening like up by like Westchester or whatever. But basic idea is here. So the Federal Bureau of Investigation has reportedly busted a group of Indian nationals who allegedly operated an unlicensed business converting cryptocurrency to cash for clients seeking anonymity. Damn, I am so messing this word up. All right, here's a funny thing to know. If you was in this space back before 2014, and after having this be my third time trying to make this damn recording, I'm really starting to wonder if we're not seeing a repeat of the earlier days of crypto, the earlier days of Bitcoin in particular, because back in the 2011 to like 14, 15 period, when I tell you local law enforcement and FBI folks was doing all types of funny operations and running up on people and putting people in entrapment, like, yo, you sold $10 of this internet money thing, you're doing super serious crimes, you're on some RICO charges. Wait, what? Like, what do you mean? And like the level of allegations and how many, when I tell you like this is what I'm saying about, like, I'm not saying I'm the super duper user dude. I'm not saying I'm like the 09 OG folk person, right? But like, I've been around long enough and I've met a number of people in this space over the decade. And some of the stories that I've heard from people in various regards, of like the early users to the mid users to the just who jumped in this thing 2 years ago users, right? And you see the trends, you see the patterns, you see people come, you see people go. Like, it's crazy to think that we made it this far, and there was certain levels of ideals we had in the beginning that, all right, now I look back on it, it's like, all right, well, yeah, it makes sense. Like, certain things are going to change, and especially with getting new users in and new types of people and people who had different needs and wants and concerns and blah, blah, blah. But in this scenario, let me bring it back in. This article I brought in because I think that this will be an indicator / a trend. And it's going to play out a couple of ways in my mind. And let me just jump through this other part right here. So according to court documents, the suspects delivered cash on behalf of co-conspirators who offered services on darknet marketplaces and peer-to-peer exchanges to ship cash via U.S. Postal Services, Express Mail, or Priority Mail in exchange for BTC and other cryptocurrencies. Authorities cracked down on the illegal operation after arresting an individual who had been mailing packages of cash on behalf of co-conspirators from a post office in Westchester County, New York. Like I said, like a little bit of upstate stuff, but it was mainly operating out of downstate, like the boroughs. The individual in question later became an FBI confidential source. So he turned because, listen, so I'm attaching the link to the court document in this. It's 29 pages. I read through most of it. When I tell you they broke down the whole thing, this operation was going on back in 2021, and they just arrested all of the people like this month or last month, or they arrested all of who they could find and connect. I should say it that way. And when you look at some of the pictures of the people, like I promise you, if you from New York or you've been in New York, like it's regular folks that you would just see, be like, yo, that's an old dude. Like that man probably in his like late 50s, just, you know, ain't nothing intimidating or questionable or whatever about him. Like it's regular looking Joes. Like it's crazy. But they break down everything. They show you the pictures of the money. They tell you like how they were using WhatsApp, Telegram, and this other chat thing. Like it gets into a whole bunch of stuff. And basically what happened was the dude who was doing the work got contacted by an undercover. The undercover starts doing stuff with him. He starts talking really sloppy about how X number of the other people he's serving are doing illicit stuff. So now it's like, all right, well, you confirmed that this is connected to illegal operations. Bet I got you on record, sucker. And so he basically turned him because why? He probably sold him the whole thing of like, well, I got you on recording devices incriminating yourself. Like literally, there are pictures. There were pictures of the people, and I promise you, if you see it, you're like, that's like a regular. That looks like the regular dude I seen at the store the other day, or like just walking down the street, minding their own business. And that's how it is. Like there's no flashiness. There's no let me go get this Lambo. No, and then they're moving 100 to 300,000 at a time to send to people. Here's the things that like are running around my brain on this. One, you got the federal charges, which means you're getting federal prison time. Then you're going to have the state charges because the New York Attorney General's setup is going to go after you. So, and then so New York has the bit license thing. You're an unregistered money transmitter. Like you didn't have the license here, so you're getting time. We're not even trying to tell you, yo, pay for the fine, because why? The feds already pushed on you first, so everything you did is already illegal. You got the conspiracy charge. You got the fact that you used the USD. And I ain't never been in a drug situation, never been to jail, prison, none of that. But if you know about how the charges work when you do things related to drugs or money, like wire fraud and all that stuff, one of the key things they catch you on is, did you use the government infrastructure, whether it be like the postal service or like the telecommunication setup, or did you use the medium of exchange, which is the US dollar? That right there seals your whole deal. So you got the dude who was talking sloppy, who he turns informant. And then the other thing to note is things like this do not operate in a vacuum, which means the people in this network, it doesn't mean they're all exclusive to this one network. One or two of them, depending on what part of the echelon of this thing they could be connected to other networks that were doing other things. Because the other thing that they talk about in the court document is they don't know who all of the people are. They only caught a handful of the people because those were the people that they were able to like track and trace through the dude who turned informant. But there was a number of other people. They have no clue who they are, which then gets me into, and I thought about this when I did the second recording that messed up. I think, I'm still not going to say it. But I think there was something else going on too that was in connection to the whole thing. The other point to note is that they had the audacity to do this in New York. Supply and demand. The basic concept of economics, supply and demand, in an area where it's like, yo, we don't just let any and everybody operate here. You got to get the license. You got to be a part of the gang. You got to play by our rules. But you want to do this and you're not a part of the gang? You a foreigner? Oh, hell no. So, excuse me. Not only are we going to take your money, here's the other thing to note. Here's the other thing to note, which is not covered in this article. And it's not made clear either in the court documents. 15 million over 3 years. According to King's number, like, no, you got to be at like the 30 million number, and then they won't mess with you like that. They'll just like, yo, give us half and then go about your business. 15 million still isn't nothing to sneeze at. So the other question then comes to me is, where the hell were they getting the cash from? there was definitely other players and other things going on in this situation for them to be doing 100,000 to 300K drops to one individual. So my basic thought on this is, one, because they're going to meet, they're all right. Again, we're going into the presidential political cycle. There's other, political things going on too here in the States, but there's going to be more grandeur, people being more grand about like legislation and like policies and rules and like, tying down the whole crypto thing. And we're not going to call it capital flight control, but this is about capital flight control. Think about this. Why would I go through all of the effort to be able to exit out of my crypto position, which was one way or the other tracked, into a monetary or a financial system or a financial instrument, aka the US dollar, that has a higher anonymity to it than, quote, cryptocurrency, for the way it's moving now here in the States, especially if you're doing things through centralized exchanges. And so I imagine as we go forward into this decade, you will hear more stories that will cover, hey, this illegal operation here, this person over there, that person has the charge of blah, blah, blah. And X amount of it is going to be centered around something dealing with money transmission, but more importantly, because they touched the US dollar, whether they received it or whether they gave it away, not gave it away like freely, but whether they received or transmitted it. On one of these ends, more situations of charges and people having law enforcement issues, as well as regulatory body issues, SEC, the Southern District Court in New York, the Attorney General. Like if you haven't seen understood it right now, the New York State Attorney General, like, and the court, the Southern District Court thing, they kicking butt for New York right now when it comes to the crypto space, right? So arguably, indicator of this is going to turn into a trend of more stories popping out. And I think that we might be going back into a reverse of the early days, because now more regulation is going to come down. Again, I say this thing about the Biden dog whistle, the executive order that he put out. The federal level is going to push more stuff. The state levels are going to push more stuff. The county levels are going to push stuff. And then the cities are going to push stuff. That's 4 layers of regulatory shit to deal with. And it's more things coming down the pike as we push through this decade. Why? Because it's going to be a capital flight control issue. And the, quote, bad actors, and I'm not saying there aren't going to be people who are doing illicit, bad, scammy, just wrong things. But I'm saying that the regular folks are going to be caught up in the whole thing, because the target isn't necessarily the bad actors. It's getting everyone, because they don't care about the regular or non-regular folks. They just want everyone. And when I say they, I mean they as far as like the governmental position, law enforcement stuff. It's a blanket thing. We may talk about it in terms of discriminating between, bad actors and non-bad actors, but at the end of the day, that's not how the execution is being used of it. That's just it. Anywho, I'm rambling. I'm done. It's been a long night. Like, this really got me annoyed that I had to do this joint 3 times. Yeah, this is just where we are right now with this stuff going on. And hopefully, I'm not even going to say that part of it. Folks, I'm saying what I'm saying. I'm not telling you to be a Bitcoin person, not be a Bitcoin person. I'm not telling you to get into the space at all. I'm not telling you anything as a financial advisor or a lawyer or a CPA. I'm just telling you these are my thoughts on some things that just come across my radar. If it makes sense to you, I do appreciate you taking what I say to make sense. If not, it's cool. I'm okay with that. All right, that's what it is. Other than that, last thing to note is Metaverse is the other side. Me and 3D do it on Thursdays, 8 p.m. on the BuilderDAO Twitter space. Link for that will be in the description, and link for the rest of these articles that I read will also be in the description. So do what y'all do, and I'm gonna leave that there. And as I say, it's a Monday, so you see me in the live on here. If King jump in at the 10ish, I'll be in that too. So we can go about that over there too. Other than that, have a productive over busy day, aka P over B. And if you can't have that, at least be in a safe space, in a safe place, and in good company. And from one human to the next, that is the best that I can wish you. Other than that, y'all, one.